Peace, 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 peace. Welcome back to the You and I Versal Temple for the sun, planets, moon, and stars. I'll be your Lord of Hosts, Lord Messiah. And today, right, I wanted to go into statehood in the 1 to 10, right? So, I know the 1 to 10 off ahead, so I ain't even got to look at my little notes, whatever that I wrote down. But Pete, right, at the last parliament, I was breaking down about how, the Article 1 in the Montevideo Convention on the Rights and Duties of States, it says that a state is a person in the eyes of international law and possesses the following qualifications. A permanent population. B, a defined territory. C, a government. And D, the capacity to enter into relations with other states. So, last night, right, I was sitting here thinking, I'm like, yo, man, because I didn't draw up a whole lot of science out of the lessons dealing with statehood and whatnot. And I said, yo, and people be probably asking like, man, it don't say in 120 that we got to start a state. Yes, it do. Just got to know how to read. So once you start studying the international law, then you'll know what you're seeing in these lessons. So for example, dealing with the Article 1 of the Montevideo Convention on the Rights and Duties of States, what qualifies a state? The four qualifications of a state. A permanent population. B, a defined territory. C, a government. And D, the capacity to enter into relations with other states. So when we go into our 1 to 10, right, we already know who the original man is, who the colored man is. When we're dealing with the permanent population, what's the understanding degree in a 1 to 10? What is the total population of the original nation in the wilderness of North America and all over the planet Earth? The wilderness of North America is a geographic location, which could be the defined territory going into Section B. But we ain't gonna get there yet. Let me not, put the cart before the horse. So now, then it asks, what is the total population of the colored nation or colored people in the wilderness of North America and all over the planet Earth? Answer, the total population. The answer to the first degree, what is the total population of the original nation in the wilderness of North America and all over the planet Earth? Answer, the total population of the original nation in the wilderness of North America is 17 million with the 2 million Indians, making a total of 19 million and 4,400,000,000 all over the planet Earth. Now, I could simply say that, but now those lessons were written in 1934, February 20th, 1934. We're in 2025. Today's mathematics being God, in the month of May, Power Month. So we in Power, God, Wisdom Cipher, Wisdom Power. May 5th, 2025. Oh, matter of fact, today is Cinco de Mayo, the Day of the Dead for the Mexicans. Shout out to the Mexican population. No, I'm bugging. Today's mathematics is God. Cinco de Mayo was on the 5th, part of something. That was 2 days ago. Peace to y'all, 2 days ago. So anyway, then, you got the total population. Now, the total population of the original nation and the total population of the colored nation, those are two populations. And how we define that in international law is the de jure population, which is the original nation, and the de facto population, which is the colored nation. Now, we also see in the wisdom degree, they talk about the colored man. He's not only colored because he's grafted, but he's colored also because he's dealing with the color of law. The de facto population are here setting up a government under the color of law. What is the color of law? The appearance of law. You see what I'm saying? But now the original nation have to declare statehood so that we, as the original nation, the quote-unquote indigenous people, the original nation, can declare true statehood through decolonization. So we get into uti possidetis jurisdiction and all those type of things, right? But I'm going to get into that later. So now, that right there is dealing with the permanent population, right? So we got that right there, right? That's right there in the 1 to 10. The original nation. It tells you, understanding degree. Now, Section B, defined territory. What does the equality degree say in the 1 to 10? How much useful land is used every day by the total population of the planet Earth? So now they combine the total population and the defined territory. Answer, the total population uses 29 million square miles of useful land. Then they ask in the God degree, today's degree, how much useful land is used by the original man? Answer, the original man uses 23 million square miles of useful land. So now you got 23 million square miles of useful land, and you telling me you can't define a territory within that to declare your jurisdiction out of 23 million square miles? Come on now. What are we doing? How much does a colored man use? Answer, the colored man, how many square miles does colored man use? Colored man uses 6 million square miles. So now he only got 6 million square miles, and he done set up a jurisdiction and damn near running the world. We got 23 million square miles, and we can't get our permanent population together to define our territory so we can move into C, which is government. Okay, so now, where is government in the 1 to 10? Okay, let's deal with the born degree. It says, what is the said birth record of the Nation of Islam? Answer, the Nation of Islam has no said birth record. It has no beginning, for it is older than the sun, moon, and star. So, if the Nation of Islam is older than the sun, moon, and star, having no beginning or ending, you know what I'm saying? Then we got to understand that that's a universal government that we've always been going by, that's in our essence. You see what I'm saying? Dealing with freedom, justice, and equality. You know what I mean? Freedom, justice, and equality. Those are forms of governance. You see what I'm saying? And that's what, Islam represents. You know what I'm saying? Now, like I said, that's a form of universal governance. And look at our universal flag. It deals with the number 7, representing the original man, also the sun, moon, and star, representing man, woman, and child. You know what I'm saying? The number 7 represents Allah, God, which is actually the universal mind, manifests into arm, leg, arm, head, which is the original man. So, the government is based on the sun, moon, and star, which is man, woman, and child, operating off of knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. And you know how I've also developed the Universal Family Divine Trust in the name of Universal Sham God Allah, memory and commemoration of Universal Sham God Allah. So that Universal Family Divine Trust shows us how to govern our families based on the sun, moon, and star, with the Divine 7 representing the trust protector, the Divine Trust Protector, and Universal Trust Scheduler, because in the trust you have to create a schedule where you put all the property in the trust. So the 7 represents the Universal Trust Protector and the Trust Scheduler, because it encompasses everything in the universe as a universal estate. Man, woman, and child. The original man being the son, that's the truster. He is the one who establishes the trust, puts it on paper, and grants all properties to the trustee, which is the woman represented by the moon. The wisdom. Wisdom is the activation of knowledge. So as the truster grants these provisions to the trustee, she, as the wisdom, takes care of everything and benefit for the beneficiaries, which are the stars, the babies. So to make it simple, right? A man and a family, right? A man makes money. He gives the money to the woman, to his woman. She takes that money, gets things for the house, takes care of everything, food, clothing, shelter, takes care of the babies, which are the beneficiaries. You know what I'm saying? And we're living out a family trust. So in all reality, we've actually been living out a family trust all this time. We just never put it on paper. So the Universal Family Divine Trust is an actual form of family governance on paper, represented by the sun, moon, and star, which has no set birth record, older than the sun, moon, and star, having no beginning or ending. So the born degree represents the government. Now let's go to D, the capacity to enter into relations with other states. So what does the knowledge cipher degree say? What is the said birth record of nations other than Islam? So when you look at the Nation of Islam, a nation is a state. You see what I'm saying? A nation, or rather I say a nation, can form its statehood and become a state. You see what I'm saying? Because now, understand this, you got the Nation of Islam, you got the Nation of Gaza Earth, you got the Nation of Israel, you got the Nuwapian nation, you got all these different nations out here. But until these nations declare their statehood, you know what I'm saying, true actual nationality through a state, because a religious temple cannot confer nationality. So the Moorish Americans, quote unquote, shout out to the Moors, the actual Moroccans who know their nationality is Moroccan, not Moorish American. That's an oxymoronic hybrid. So anyway, let me just finish up D before I start building into all of that. So D is, like I say, representing the capacity to enter into relations with other states. So D, when it says in the knowledge cipher degree, what is the said birth record of nations other than Islam? These are, it says Buddhism is 35,000 years old, Christianity is 551 years old. So we know that the Buddhists, they have what they call a Buddhist monastery. You know what I'm saying? Monastery, a monastery. And through that, they have a form of spiritual governance. How were they able to have a spiritual form of governance? Because in their land, Tibet or wherever it is, they don't necessarily have a separation of church and state. You know what I'm saying? So in the United States, they have separation of church and state. And knowledge this, right? People say, oh, well, you say Allah isn't Allah representing a deity or a God? So wouldn't that be like a combining of church and state? No, not necessarily, because now, and understand this, even if people would want to try to consider it that, you have the right to do that under your own jurisdiction. Because now we're dealing with general resolutions. You know what I'm saying? General resolution 1541, I think it is, states that a territory can achieve self-governance through D, any freely determined political status. So you can freely determine your political status. You know what I'm saying? And if that political status is a spiritual governance, then so be it. For example, you got the Pope in the Vatican. He's the archdiocese or the head bishop or cardinal, however, or whatever, over that whole region that he governs over. And there's like a jurisdiction in the Vatican that he governs over. And that's a spiritual. He's a spiritual. He's the Pope. You know what I'm saying? Which means father. You know what I'm saying? Quote unquote. So when people form their own statehood, they have the right to do this. So Christianity being 551 years old. We also know that Christianity represents a nation too. So now I wanted to go into, if you remember back in the days, or if like a history class, you remember when you learned about the WASP, what they call themselves, white Anglo-Saxon Protestant. Yeah, white Anglo-Saxon Protestants. You know what I'm saying? And you know that's what WASP stands for, WASP, white Anglo-Saxon Protestant. So the white would be an actual nationality, because when you look up the definition of white, it says any person having origins in any of the original peoples of Europe, Middle East, or North Africa. So if you're from Europe, Middle East, or North Africa, then you are defined as quote-unquote white. You know what I'm saying? Look on the SF 181 form, or look on the subsection of your job application that you've been filling out for all these years. Did we know that we've been contractually signing up? We've been contractually denationalizing ourselves by checking off the box that says black. Why is that? Because all those other ethnicities or races on there, it says a person having origins in specific land masses, in any of the original peoples of specific land masses. But when it comes to black, it says a person having origins in any of the racial black groups of Africa. That's such a broad statement. Now, if they said something more specific, like Nigerian American, Egyptian American, Liberian American, Zimbabwean American, Somalian American, you know, et cetera, that would be an actual nationality, or actually a dual nationality, because, you know, the original citizenship would be the African country, and then the next citizenship would be the American, since we're so-called African American, right? So now they got us over here in America, not knowing exactly in Africa where we so-called come from, if that's the case. You see what I'm saying? So that's such a blanket statement, which does not represent a nationality, and it strips us of being original people. It don't say having origins in any of the original peoples of the racial black groups of Africa. They just demote you to a race and just say that you have an ethnicity of any of the racial black groups of Africa. So do that mean I could just go to Africa and pick any fucking racial black group and say, hey, the white man in America says I'm part of you guys? Come on, that makes no sense. And that's not national. We are, by checking that box black, you are stripping yourself of nationality. So understand that. This is why I'm going through statehood. So once again, I'm gonna make this short and sweet. I'm showing y'all statehood in the 1 to 10. And I want to expound a little bit more, right? Just going through how, you know, Elijah Muhammad and Master Muhammad, they both attended the Moorish Science Temple of America, where they teach that, you know, the science of how we're not black and how black represents, in science means dead, and in legal law it means simple little more tus, means dead in the eyes of the law. So when he come right out the temple, the Moorish Science Temple, then he starts the Nation of Islam, and then he writes a book called Message to the Black Man in America. Message to the Black Man in America. Now, you done put a caste system on us by calling us black. Even go to India, you see the blacker you are, the worse you're treated. The lighter you are, the better you're treated. Black is black and light skin, all it's just a caste system. Same way in America, you got white supremacy, light skin supremacy, and black degradation. You see what I'm saying? So when we call ourselves so-called black, we're putting a caste on ourselves. Now we know scientifically we are black because we have the melanin secreted from the pineal gland, which was signed on by the sun, converts our skin, hair, and eyes into a dark complexion. We know that we have the pineal gland, the black gene, which is the dominant gene. You know what I'm saying? We come from the black soils of the earth, the black depths of the sea. There's a scientific term called black earth, which is exceedingly fertile soil, which represents the original woman. Remember when Dashiki got pregnant by Ashtray, and she was like, 2 minutes later, was like, I'm pregnant. He was like, already? She's like, I got 8 kids. I should know. Like, goddamn, see, that's that exceedingly fertile soil. You know what I'm saying? That's why she got pregnant so quick. That's why she got so many kids. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, so but that's the earth, man. The black woman is the earth. So science is that, right? Like I say, so he comes out the temple and calls us the black man in America, and they teach in the Moorish Science Temple that this is Morocco. So you knew that really this land is Morocco. You know what I'm saying? National-wise, the Empire of Morocco, not the Kingdom of Morocco. So therefore, you just basically sold out, called us black, put us back in America, and said the Nation of Islam, right? Now let's break that down. Nation of Islam. Nation is a state, or is synonymous with a state. But Islam, as you read through the Message of the Black Man, he represents Islam as a religion. Although we say sometimes Islam is a culture, it's not a religion. The gods say that. But Elijah Muhammad, all throughout the Message of the Black Man, go through, when you get to those last chapters, when he start recruiting Muslims, he says religion, Islam, religion, Islam, religion, Islam, religion, Islam. So if he's saying that Islam is a religion, then the Nation of Islam, when you make the word synonymous, it's like saying the state of religion. And now we know since the Nation of Islam is still under the jurisdiction of the United States, and there's separation of church and state, and you're calling yourself the Nation of Islam, which means the state of religion. How are you going to be the state of religion when there's separation of church and state? Make it make sense. So therefore, when they had the Million Man March, which was supposed to be the Day of Atonement, atonement represents autonomy, which means self-rule. And if there was no Declaration of Independence for us to sign that day, there was no Declaration of Statehood, there was no, instrument of accession for us to cede to a constitution or a treaty of an independent state or free association, anything like that of that nature of international law on that day. Just a statement and a get-together and a cookout and a numeration for the devil to know how many people is following you. That's basically what it was. Then no real autonomy came out of that. You see what I'm saying? That's no disrespect, but I'm just speaking facts, man, because I know international law. And we've been studying civics under the United States government, which doesn't get us anywhere, because you're only going to make some kind of sub-government under their government. Like God's in the nation, we're saying, we a nation within a nation. Get the fuck out of here with that nation within a nation. We're supposed to be a nation among nations. So when we declare our statehood, going through your 1 to 10, you got the evidence right there. It's been sitting there for 91 years. But anyway, nobody studied international law to do the knowledge like your righteous brother Lord Messiah has done. So that's why I'm doing this live, to break down this knowledge. And ain't nobody ever brought this knowledge forth, man. People be like, oh, brothers tried that back in the days. No, they didn't, man. What I'm talking about, ain't nobody ever brought this forth to the nation, man. Stop the cap. If they did, where's the paperwork? Show and prove. All that paperwork I passed out that parliament, ain't nobody. And I'm not saying that to brag, I'm just saying that to show and prove that. Like, come on, man, because all that other stuff, and people will be trying to compare me to Born Mastermind because I supported the brother in his efforts to try to uplift the nation. Meanwhile, y'all motherfuckers sitting around twiddling y'all thumbs and ain't doing shit. But y'all always got something to say about somebody that's trying to do something. But anyway, so no, this is not what Born Mastermind was doing and whatnot. He was talking about a tribal government that would have been under the federal government jurisdiction. I'm talking about statehood, which is under international law, which declares our own sovereignty as a state, not as individuals. No individual is a sovereign unless you are a totalitarian, a dictator, a monarch, or a sultan. You see what I'm saying? Those type of people are sovereigns as an individual that rule over a conglomerate of states or a state or a province, what have you. You know what I'm saying? So all these, so-called Moorish Americans running around here saying, "Oh, I'm sovereign. I told the judge I'm sovereign." Well, stop the cap. They're gonna look at you as a so-called sovereign citizen. Reason being because when you file your documents with the state courts, you need a state ID. Otherwise, they're not gonna accept your documents. Now, people got all kind of writs and this and that. They go, they gotta accept my documents and all that. Okay, cool, fine and dandy. But still, once you submit your documents to the court, that court has now what you call subject matter jurisdiction over the documentation you presented to that court. If they don't assume subject matter jurisdiction, they can't even move forward with the case. So all in all, the court has jurisdiction, period. Until you form your own courts, and then you don't only get the case dismissed. And the reason why they dismiss a lot of cases is because they just don't want to hear all that shit. They're like, "Oh, they come here with that bullshit. We don't want to hear that shit. And he's trying to expose the system. Let's just dismiss the case. Get this nigga out of here." So a lot of cases get dismissed, but they don't never get the case. And shout out to Jermaine J. Bay and Pack Study Sessions. He broke down the science of how cases should get extradited. Extradited means when they shift the case or transfer the case to another court, which would be your court if you had a court from your own nation that you administrate your own justice. Then they would extradite the case to your court and have your court judge the matter because it's a citizen under your jurisdiction, not under their jurisdiction. But when you're presently under their jurisdiction, you're in their courts, they have jurisdiction, period. There ain't no other way around it, man. It's like all that other, "Oh, but we got our own courts and all that." Where, man? Where? Because if you did, you wouldn't even have to go to their courts in the first place. And on top of that, they got their whole appealing process, and all of that. So when you appeal the case, then basically you got to go to a higher court. Why didn't you go to that higher court in the first place? Because they say you have to exhaust your remedies in the lower court before you go to the higher court. You see? So it's different levels to the shit. And what I learned last night, I was restudying last night about what's called stare decisis. Stare decisis is dealing with the science that how judges have to deal with case laws or case precedents within their local jurisdictions, or so for example, if you were in the county of Suffolk, the county of Nassau, the county of Queens, the county of what have you, that county has to deal with the case laws within that county. So prior case laws have already case. So therefore, if you put in case laws in your case, you want to research the case laws that are within your county, because that case law, due to stare decisis, they have to go by that prior case law within their jurisdiction. So when you start using constitutional case laws, which are maybe of the state or of other states, then they could try to deny it on their lower level until you appeal it in the higher court. And you're going to have to take it all the way to the Supreme Court for them to acknowledge constitutional case laws. Because on the lower level, they got their own state constitution and they got their own enumerated laws that come from their state constitution. And their state constitution is enumerated from the national constitution. See what I'm saying? So it's different levels to the shit. So on your county level, you want to get case laws that are from your county. See what I'm saying? And according to stare decisis, you can demand them now to follow these case laws from their jurisdiction because they're obligated to do so according to stare decisis. I just taught y'all a jewel about law, man, a whole bunch of jewels about law and how it applies in the court. And under this jurisdiction and when we form our own jurisdiction, how to do our own thing. So I got some shit to do right now. I got to go to the authentication building and get an authentication on my document so that my document can now have full faith and credit of the United States, because I'm dealing with some shit my baby moms in another state. So now when I get this document authenticated in this state and they put their state seal on it and it says this document now has full faith and credit of the United States, they have to accept it in that other state. See, dealing with statehood, man, state jurisdictions. You got to understand these things. So Get your documents notarized, and it's not legal advice. This is just what I'm doing. I'm about to get my document notarized, get it authenticated. Matter of fact, oh shit, what am I doing? I gotta go get my authentication. I'm about to jump on the crane and go get my I gotta go get the authentication at the county clerk, then go to the state building or the authentication building and get that state seal. See, it's different levels to this shit. Peace, y'all.